Welcome into College Football Every Game on the Board podcast. Drew Martin, mid-major Matt Josephs breaking it down here. We got the top of the card Thursday. That is Thanksgiving night, Navy and Memphis. We're hitting the Friday games and the top of the Saturday card. If you're watching on YouTube and Twitter, we did go out of order. You know, it is a short week, guys. And but if you're listening on the podcast, we are on the right order here. Is Matt, welcome on in, bud. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Ready to break down the games.
Yeah, to me, this is the easiest week to handicap in terms of there's a lot of games that we're just going to throw out. I mean, we'll give you some information, but like you're looking for bowl motivation, head coach motivation, Heisman motivation, playoff motivation. So you're going to notice a thread to some of the selections and the stuff that we talk about in this group.
Yeah, motivation is key. So let's start it off here. A game that a lot of people are going to be watching. You know, Thanksgiving night, nationally televised on ESPN. It is Navy and Memphis, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Top of the card here, 57 and a hook being the total. Memphis -4.5 it is -4.5. It's come down here throughout the week. It was 6, now 4.5. A lot of midshipman money here, and they got a good quarterback. People are talking about, hey, maybe you should get an invite to the Heisman Trophy, talking about the Navy side here. I like the midshipman catching points. What's your thought in Memphis, Tennessee, Thanksgiving night?
Yeah, obviously, with the way Memphis has played the last couple games, they're out of the AAC title contention. Navy can win and get some help, which basically means that North Texas or Tulane loses. And Navy gets in. So the motivation is on the Navy side. The problem is Navy's defense is hard to back because Navy's defense is just bad this year. And if Memphis is focused and ready for this game, they should be able to exploit them in the back end. Now, the interesting thing here is when we always talk about Navy games, we always talk about the running game. But I really like Horvath over 121.5 passing yards. We've seen in certain matchups where Navy has taken advantage of secondaries. We saw that Air Force game way back when he threw for over 300 yards, I think. And if you look at last year's game, he had almost 200 yards passing in that game. So I would look at a Horvath over passing yards prop here. I think it's 121.5. That's what it was last night when I was putting my notes together. But I think a lot of people will look at his running. His passing is where I would go in this game. So that's where I'm kind of looking at here. With regards to side, I agree. I lean to Navy a little bit. We're in that dead number situation at 4.5, although, you know, like a 17-13 game goes your way. I lean to Navy here, but I'm more like Horvath over 121.5 passing yards.
Like the breakdown, good start here as we flip the script to Friday, November 28th. Black Friday, we got games going on. So if you're out shopping, we'll get some action for you. But hey, I know a lot of our listeners probably in front of the TV. I know I will be. So top of the Friday card here, Matt, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, 3:15, 3:16 going down in rotation order. Ohio and Buffalo, little Friday action. -7 at most shops. That is the Bobcats as the road favorite. There is 6 and a hook out there if you like the Ohio side. 44 being the total. Weather a little bit of an issue. I'll say this though, Matt. Buffalo, they struggle throwing the football. Their quarterback Robertson, I guess a good athlete. He just throwing the ball down the field is not his strength. And he's up against Parker Navarro here for Ohio. I like the Bobcats, but I'll throw it over to you. What are you liking in Buffalo, New York, top of the Friday card?
Yeah. There's going to be some wind. There's going to be some weather situations that will certainly bring up cold and very windy in Buffalo for this game, like 18, 20 mile per hour wind gusts, which I don't think is going to hurt Buffalo because they can't throw it anyway, as you mentioned. I don't know where Buffalo's head's at. Like, as a guy who had their win total over, this team's been so disappointing this season. Like, as you said, the quarterback play has been bad. Al-Jay Henderson has not been used enough at times. They have some great wide receivers. Their defense, which is very good. I didn't realize that Red Murdoch, their linebacker, is from the Richmond area. So I didn't realize that until now. But yeah, Ohio has a shot to make the MAC title game. There's like actually some calculations that if certain things happen, they go to like nerd numbers. And if the nerd numbers come out in their direction. So like basically Ohio still has a chance to make the MAC title game in this situation. So anything involving this game is probably Ohio or pass. The under could come into play a little bit here. If you don't like Buffalo's offense, their team total 17.5. I think Ohio's defense is good. It's not great, but I think Buffalo is a team that I don't want any part of right now.
Yeah, sounds like we're on the same look there as we got a big one up next, the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss and Mississippi State from Starkville, Mississippi. The cowbells will be ringing. We are seeing the Rebels -7 at most shops as the road favorite, 62.5 being the total. I'll tell you this, Matt, Lane Kiffin, everybody talking about what's he going to do, if you have any opinion on that. One matchup handicap I looked at is Jeff Lebby, the head coach for Mississippi State. He was the offensive coordinator under Lane Kiffin, so there's a lot of familiarity there. Mississippi State's hit the over a bunch in a row. I actually like the over 62 if you can find it. What are your thoughts here in the Egg Bowl?
So there's a couple factors here. Ole Miss needs a win in the SEC championship or in this game, and then they need Texas and Auburn to pull upsets off to make the SEC championship game. They also, in the playoff rankings, Oregon jumped over them in the playoff rankings, which I think is important because now we're getting close to that range of, will Ole Miss get a home game in the college football playoff? Also, this whole Lane Kiffin thing, like on Saturday, we're going to get a decision from Lane Kiffin, which, by the way, you don't announce that you're having a press conference Saturday if he's staying. Like, unless you're doing the whole pomp and circumstance thing, like he's going somewhere. So what are the kids saying right now? Like, where's Ole Miss's players at? If this is like McNeese State with Will Wade, when Will Wade told his kids what was going on and they still played really well, and I think if I remember correctly, they won a game in the NCAA tournament. If he's been telling them and they're like, they know what's going on, then maybe they're going to be really focused for this game. It's the rivalry game. But like, if the kids are as uncertain as we are as to what Lane Kiffin's doing, they could be, a little distracted for this game. So I could see a lot of points in this game. I could see Mississippi State making it interesting. This is one I just don't want to guess. Like, I don't want to guess where Ole Miss's kids are at right now in terms of this whole thing. Like, what's Lane Kiffin thinking? Like, is he putting in the proper amount of prep for this game, or is he interviewing at Florida, or is he interviewing at LSU, or is he doing a PowerPoint presentation trying to decide which one he wants to do? Like, there's a lot of question marks in this game. To me, it would be Mississippi State or the over or pass.
You talk to a lot of head coaches, ESPN Richard. Matt, what's your thought? If you're projecting out, where's Lane Kiffin next season?
So the noise and the odds say LSU. There's a lot of noise coming out of Baton Rouge. The contract that they're preparing is quite a bit, and I would think that he's going in that direction. If I was him, I'd stay or I'd go to Florida. But like, he can choose wherever. Like, I think it would be funny if he had 3 hats in front of him and he just said, "Oh, well, this is where I'm going," and like did the whole high school recruit thing. I think this is all kind of ridiculous, though, because the committee's already said if he leaves, they may move Ole Miss to a road game from a home game because he's not going to be there. So, like, that's terrible for the kids. And I know Lane Kiffin doesn't really care about his kids because he just cares about himself. But, like, this whole thing just feels dirty and awful to me.
Does have a little stink on it, as we got Iowa and Nebraska up next. Also 12 noon Eastern kick, so 11 local time. We're seeing the Hawkeyes -6 at most shops as the road favorite, 38 being the total in Lincoln, Nebraska, Matt.
So in this game, I think it's interesting because there was the news I just saw today that Dylan Raiola may not be back at Nebraska next year. And they're preparing for him to leave. So I don't know what that means. I assume he's going to keep starting. It's not like he's been great all season. I mean, look at that game last week. They were brutal against Penn State. They've already made a bowl game. Iowa, it's going to be very cold and windy in this game. So that feels like an Iowa situation here. So to me, I would throw Iowa in like a money line parlay with something else you like. I don't love laying 6 on the road with an offense that is anemic at times. But like, I don't love Nebraska right now. And Dylan Raiola, if he's not staying at the program, like, I don't know where his head's at right now for this game.
Yeah, I saw that Raiola thing. I read an article. His younger brother was committed to go to Nebraska and just decommitted, right? And right. So that's bringing up question marks in terms of him as well. Good point there, Matt. We got Kent State and Northern Illinois up next. A little bit more MACtion, 12 noon Eastern. It is Northern Illinois -5 as the home favorite, 45 being the total. I like the Kent State side. I think their quarterback, DeShields, he's a pretty good player. Haven't seen a lot out of Northern Illinois. I think the wrong team's favored here. I like the dog. You liking anything in this MACtion, Matt?
I mean, I wouldn't bet in this game at all because I just don't know where the motivation is probably on the Kent State side. At 4-7, though, they're not going to make a bowl game unless their APR is really high. And even then, I think we've got enough 6-6 and better teams that they're not going to need to go to the 5-7s. It's going to be very cold for this game. Temperatures are going to be in the 30s, maybe in the 20s for this game. So it's going to be a miserable game here. You're right. The motivation's probably on the Kent State side, but as I said, like this card is easy to just throw out some games that have nothing to do with anything and then keep other games that have to do with stuff. But you're right. And the only problem is, can you lay points with Kent State on the road? Like, I get it. Motivation's on their side, but like they still have to, win or get close to, within 5 or so. So I agree with you. Kent State's probably the side, but I'm probably not going to play this one.
We got late night Friday night lights. It is Arizona State for the Territorial Cup here, Matt. Tight point spread. Arizona, the Wildcats, -1.5 as the road favorite. 48.5 being the total. Arizona State from Tempe, Arizona, Matt.
So this is an interesting game because Arizona State has a couple of ways that they can get into the conference championship game with a win. And we've had Arizona State in our group a lot. I like Jeff Sims, and Jeff Sims has been playing really well for Arizona State. So it's interesting because I would make them the favorite in this game, I think, being at home. They have more to play for. Technically, they're both 8-3, and it's a rivalry game, so they both have a lot to play for here. So I kind of lean to Arizona State here. I'm surprised we're getting points in this situation, but I just feel like this is a strong team, and I feel like we're constantly still underrating Jeff Sims. I believe Jordan Tyson's healthy, so you've got one of the best wide receivers in the country to throw to here. So I lean to Arizona State as the home dog in this situation.
Matt, did I skip Utah, Kansas?
You did, but that's all right. We roll.
Hey, we're rolling with it. Matt's good enough to cover me here. So sorry about that, guys, missing one. But hey, 323-324, 12 noon Eastern, Utah and Kansas. The Utes, -11.5 as the road favorite, 60 being the total. So Utah laying doubles on the road here, Matt.
This is a Utah offense that's smoking hot. I mean, they've scored over 45, like 5 or 6 straight games. The backup quarterback that they've used, he's been awesome. And they've used him and Dampier, and they've been tremendous. And Utah is a small shot. If they win this game and Texas Tech loses and BYU and Arizona State both win, Utah makes the conference championship game. It's going to be cold and windy here, which I think Utah is used to a lot more. Kansas will have the bowl motivation. I think they want to play in a bowl game. I think this is a team that's going to give it their best shot. Utah did drop a spot in the playoff rankings, so that's really important here. So I think they want to put on a show. So I like Utah over 34.5 points here. I just think this offense is way too hot to fade right now. So if you're going to give me essentially a nice, neat 5 touchdowns, I think Utah can score that against a Kansas defense that's just brutal.
Matt, we'll go to Air Force. Colorado State up next. Air Force -2 point road favorites. 45.5 being the total. This is the Ram Falcon Trophy on the line. Not a whole lot of room separating these two schools. Air Force, Colorado State, Matt.
Yeah, this is for this game. It's interesting because Air Force, when they lost their quarterback, like their offense just kind of disappeared a little bit. I get that it's an offense that you're only going to recruit guys who basically can play in that offense, but you notice a difference last week without him. They're 3-8, so there's no bowl game here. Now the thing is, when you look at Air Force, they deal with so much stuff that it's just like, I'll never question motivation when it comes to Air Force, but like, where's the motivation for Colorado State when there's not a bowl coming and you're getting ready for a triple option offense in that last week? Like, this is a Colorado State team that's closer to vacationing than wanting to go through the hard prep for a triple option offense. So I'd lean probably to Air Force here, but this is also one of those games with no bowls, no motivation, no trophy, no nothing, it seems like. So I'll lean to Air Force here, but won't make my card.
We got clean, old-fashioned hate up next. That is the rivalry name for Georgia Tech here, Matt. We get the Bulldogs, -2 touchdown road favorites, -14 pretty much across the board, 59.5 being the total. I am seeing Mercedes-Benz Stadium as the location. Not sure on that, but Georgia Tech here, Matt.
Yeah, it's technically a neutral site game. It's in Atlanta, so but it's like two miles from campus for Georgia Tech. So, like, I get everybody's going to sell Georgia Tech right now after last week, and I get everybody's going to sell Georgia Tech for the way their season's kind of gone, but there's something about this game that they get up for this game. There's something that now they can't make the ACC championship, and they'll get a bowl game, obviously, but, like, now their whole focus is on Georgia. Part of me wants to buy into Georgia Tech. This feels kind of like last year when they went to 8 overtimes and Georgia won by 2. So I feel like we're getting a decent value here on Georgia Tech in this situation. Georgia's already in the conference championship game. So there's motivation for the college football playoff, but and the rivalry itself, But, are we going to get a lackluster effort from Georgia because they want to win, but they want to, save some stuff for next week in the SEC championship game? The other thing I think is interesting here, I want to look at some props involving Frazier and Bowens, their 2 running backs. If Georgia wants to, they can run the whole game on them. Like, Georgia Tech's run defense is brutal. So I would look for, like, even if I want to parlay, like a Frazier touchdown and a Bowens touchdown, or like some sort of thing involving the rushing yards, I expect Georgia to run the ball a lot at Georgia Tech, who can't stop the run at all this season.
Matt, we'll move down the list. Mountain West matchup, 3:30 Eastern. It is San Diego State, New Mexico. Tight point spread. The Aztecs -1 and a hook as the road favorite. 41.5 being the total in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Matt.
So both of these teams still have a chance at the Mountain West Championship. San Diego State qualifies with a win or with losses by Boise State and UNLV. So San Diego State is trying to get in here. And look, I guess there's a small outside shot they could get the G5 bid. I don't think really they can, but maybe if there's a lot of chaos ahead of them, maybe. New Mexico is one of the stories of the year. I mean, Jason Eck, like, we thought they were going to be a brutal team, and they are not. They're 8-3. They can get in the conference championship game with a win in this game and a Boise State loss. To me, the one bet you make in San Diego State games is the team total under for the opposition. New Mexico's is 20.5, which means you probably can get a 21.5 at a decent juice. I'm just going to keep playing it. San Diego State's got one of the best defenses in the country. They've really only been exposed by teams that have great passing attacks. That's not what New Mexico does. They're more of a ground-based team. So I think that I'm looking at under 20.5 or under 21.5 if you're willing to pay a little juice to play the under on New Mexico's team total here.
You brought up Boise State. Their next game up, Boise State at Utah State, staying in the Mountain West here. And it looks like the Broncos -3-point road favorites. There is a 2 and a hook out there. 55.5 being the total. So another tight point spread. Boise State at Utah State in Logan, Utah, Matt.
So Boise State needs to win this game and have New Mexico lose. If they both win, it will go to a computer tiebreaker with 2 of San Diego State, New Mexico, and Boise State. So Boise State has a lot to play for. I still don't love their backup quarterback. They put up 49 in the win over Colorado State, and it looks like Maddox Madsen's a long shot for this game. Latrell Caples is questionable, where he's kind of going through the protocols and stuff and trying to play. They will have Chris Marshall for this game, that wide receiver. And then Utah State, like, Bryson Barnes. I love Bryson Barnes. I think Bryson Barnes is a really good quarterback. To me, this feels like potentially a Utah State lean for me. Last year, they lost 62-30 to Boise State in this game. I would lean to Utah State plus the points. I'm just not a believer in Boise's backup quarterback here. And while I don't think Utah State will get a ton of stops, I think Barnes is capable of scoring a lot of points himself. So slight lean to Utah State, not one of my favorite plays.
Tough place to play as well in Logan. As we got next one up, the Lone Star State Showdown, Texas A&M and Texas, 7:30 Eastern Friday night. It is -2, -2.5. That's the Aggies is the road favorite. 51 and a hook being the total in Austin, Texas.
So this is where, if you like Texas A&M here, I think you almost look into buying Marcel Reed for the Heisman. So here's my thought process here. If they win this game, they're in the SEC championship, or if they lose this game, Alabama and Ole Miss lose, they're still in the SEC championship game. If they win this game, it's going to have to be because of Marcel Reed. He's going to have to play really well to win this game. And if they make the SEC championship, like, that's a huge enough game that I feel like if he plays really well, like, if you believe Texas A&M is going to win the SEC, find a better price on Marcel Reed to be the Heisman, because we know how much everybody loves the SEC. Their games are all high profile and everything like that. So if you think Texas A&M is going to win this game and win the SEC championship over Georgia, whoever they play, I think you got to go Marcel Reed to win the Heisman. Question for this game is, which Arch Manning are we getting? Arch Manning's hot right now, playing really well. Of course, last week it was Arkansas. That's not a great defense, but he was really good. Like, we're starting to see the Arch Manning that we all thought was going to be there. The other thing I thought was interesting, Texas A&M, a lot of their guys were talking about last year that Texas was dancing on the A&M's logo last year after winning, and people take, very personally. So I kind of lean to Texas A&M here, and I think that if you like the Aggies here, bet on Marcel Reed to win the Heisman.
Shout out to the chat box. Let's get a win. Marcel Heisman ticket holder in the house. So looks like a pretty good grab there. I'll tell you, Matt, do you follow the Heisman kind of odds throughout the year? Because I really don't, but it seems like it's pretty open for what Fernando Mendoza there, Indiana, Ohio State's quarterback as well. But do you have any projections on who actually would win it? Not just particularly in this game.
So I've talked about here on the podcast. I have a 60-1 on Mendoza from the preseason. I actually drove home to Pennsylvania in July because we can't bet the Heisman here in Virginia. So when I went home in July, I bet Mendoza to win the Heisman. So I got a 60-1 on Mendoza. I think it comes down to, and we could keep talking about some of the other games. Like, if you think Jeremiah Love, like, I think Jeremiah Love's going to have a huge game for Notre Dame. So, like, I would look at, like, him to score 2 touchdowns, him to score 3 touchdowns, him to go over. I think his rushing number was 135.5 or something. Like, Notre Dame's going to feed him a lot to try and get him at least to New York. I think he's second or third in the Heisman. To me, this is a relatively easy thing to do. Like, look, there's no value on Mendoza, so I wouldn't say take him right now. But if you think he's going to win the Heisman, he's going to have to throw for a bunch of touchdowns, run for some touchdowns. We're about to get into that game next, Indiana and Purdue. So that's where we could talk about that. If you think Sayin of Ohio State is going to win the Heisman, then I think you weigh the price of taking Ohio State's money line against Michigan and then Ohio State's money line against Indiana versus taking Sayin to win the Heisman. Like, I think this is the situation where there's connecting bets to make with everybody who's at the top for the Heisman. And I think those are probably the smarter bets to make than just straight up betting on like these each individual games.
Yeah, it's a difficult handicap. You know, I've read some articles just kind of making points towards different players out there. But no, you bring up great points. I mean, if you can get a big plus price, but now might not be the time to bet certain guys. So something to watch. I did read some, not that it matters. What, every year that ends in 5, a running back has won it. So that would point towards Notre Dame there. And is there anything, you would know more about it than me, isn't there like regional rivalries with the Heisman? Meaning if you have too many guys in the same region of the country, it actually hurts those because of the voting system. Have you ever heard that?
I guess, but you can also say that, you know, Sayin versus Jeremiah Smith, right? The wide receiver, like who makes who? Does Jeremiah Smith make Sayin? Does Sayin make Jeremiah Smith? Like, are there people in Columbus or that area who would vote for the wide receiver instead of voting for the quarterback? So, like, I think that's kind of the interesting thing here. And I think it's all about high profile. Like, everybody wanted to bet on Marcel Reed after that second half against South Carolina. And he had a really good game, but then last week he played an FCS opponent, and so like the buzz kind of died out a little bit, much like it died down a little bit for Mendoza because Indiana was off last week. So like I think it's one of those things where it's constantly changing, and so I think there's ways to take advantage of it, whether it's betting on the team or betting on the Heisman with these last couple games that are coming up.
Well, we brought it up there. The Indiana Hoosiers at Purdue, the Boilermakers, and they're laying, 4 touchdowns, even 28 and a hook on that number as the road favorite, 54 being the total. One of the best rivalry names in all of sports, playing for the Old Oaken Bucket. Indiana at Purdue here, laying a big number for the Hoosiers, Matt.
So I'm talking to you, Curt Cignetti. Yeah, like listen to me, all right? We've talked before. I've talked to him as a member of JMU. Like I think I still have his phone number. I don't know. I probably deleted it. I'm talking to you, Curt. All right, Curt. I need you to unleash Heisman Mendoza this weekend. Like I need 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Like I need everybody to remember why he's the best player in the country. He's really not, but whatever. I need you, Curt, to have a game plan that is surrounding Mendoza, and I need you to score like 60 points in this game to remind everybody that this kid is the best player in the country. I mean, basically, look, to me, I can't bet Purdue. Like, I can't. Like, Curt Cignetti, remember, when he came in, he talked about beating up on all the rivals. Well, this is the rivalry game. This is one of them. And I know that there's going to be the people who are like, well, he's got to save some stuff for Ohio State, and he's got to save some stuff for the conference championship game, which is why you probably would be better off betting first half in this game, almost 3 quarters maybe. I know you can't get a team total for 3 quarters, but like Curt Cignetti's the type of guy who will score a bunch of points early. and then maybe pull back a little bit towards the end of the game. But I need him to unleash Heisman Doza this game. Like, he needs to play really well because I'm worried about my ticket, and I can't even hedge because I can't even bet on the Heisman here in the state. I can't bet player props in the state. So, like, I may actually have to drive to the border to put some bets down. But, like, I'm kind of worried. I don't think, I'm the favorite, but I'm kind of worried about him because here's the thing. If he plays well in this game but doesn't play well in the conference championship game, like, that's it. He's done. He's not going to win the Heisman here. So, like, I'm kind of worried here, even though I'm the favorite in the race right now.
How far is the drive, the border run, if you will?
Carolina is like an hour, I think. DC is like 3 hours because 95 traffic is ridiculous. And then I don't know how far West Virginia is from me. And I don't even know if you can bet on it in West Virginia or DC or North Carolina. I'd have to find out. I don't want to drive to the border and not be able to bet on those things. And my parents are no longer in Pennsylvania, so I have no reason to go back home. They're here in Virginia with me. So I'm a little worried, but I think we're going to get a good effort from Heisman Doza on Saturday.
I remember
Friday.
Yeah, I remember you talking about like going to Vegas with your dad and watching the games. Do you still do that? That sounded like a cool father-son thing.
We haven't been there since the pandemic. I have not been to Vegas since the pandemic. So it's been a while. I probably will have to go again. But like, I also have a lot of casinos around here. There's a gorgeous casino outside of DC that like I could just go there instead.
True. As we got one game left here, Friday night or Friday afternoon, it is Temple and North Texas. The Mean Green minus 20-point home favorites. There's a 19 and a hook out there, 65.5 being the total. Temple, the Owls, at the Mean Green here.
So I think this will be my best bet. Haven't finalized it yet, but North Texas is doing it right. Like, they keep pouring it on. They scored 56 against Rice last week, hit the easy team total over there. I think I'm going to do it once again here. Their team total's 41.5. I just think North Texas has a really good offense. And here's the thing that I think everybody has to pay attention to, because everybody saw the news yesterday that Eric Morris is going to be named the new Oklahoma State coach. Here's the key. He's staying with North Texas until the end of the season. Now, that might change if they're not playing in the playoff. If they're playing in a simple bowl game, maybe he leaves then, and we'll worry about that then. But I think there's extra motivation here for the Mean Green to score a ton of points. They've got their coach staying. They have to impress the committee, and I think that they score a lot of points here. So I like over 41.5 for North Texas. Temple's, look, they need one more win for a bowl game. I think they're going to give it their all. I just don't think their defense is enough here, and I think North Texas is the type that's going to pour it on at the end because they know they have to look good for the committee.
Yeah, style points mattering for sure. As we'll flip the script, Saturday, November 29th, 4:30 Eastern. We're going down in rotation order, 339, 340, Florida State and Florida, the Sunshine State showdown. We get 50 being the total, minus 1.5. That's the Gators is the home favorite. Florida State at Florida from the Swamp here, Matt.
So a lot of wind in this game. Windy is what we're looking at. And remember, we're doing this on Wednesday. Weather could certainly change from there. So I'm just putting it on your radar that wind could be a factor here. My question is are the Florida State players happy Mike Norvell's getting retained? I don't know. If they are, they're going to be really motivated. Problem is Florida State's brutal on the road. I mean, their season died on the road when they lost in Charlottesville, and then they came home and they lost to Miami, and then they lost the next game. Like, their season, like, they're playing for bowl motivation. They're playing for 6-6, but I can't trust them on the road. Problem is, and we talked about it here, Florida's done. Like, they're 3-8. They're done. It's funny because I did a couple of podcast hits, and last week was on Florida. I was on Tennessee last week. I was like, Florida has no motivation whatsoever. And everybody's like, oh, Tennessee or Florida. And I was like, they just have nothing to play for. There's no bowl game in their future. Their coach is fired. They're ready for vacation. I get it's a rivalry game. I get it. But like, they didn't show up against Tennessee. They didn't show up against Kentucky. Why do I think all of a sudden they're just going to show up here? So this is a tough game for me to handicap because if Florida State players don't like Norvell, they're not going to be happy he got retained. And then you've got on the other side a Florida team that is ready for the offseason. So slight lean to Florida State here, but this is a pass for me. I can't put my money on either of these teams right now.
Yeah, difficult one for me as well, Matt, as we'll head to the Big 12 up next. Texas Tech and West Virginia.
Red Raiders minus 23 and a hook as the road favorite, 54 being the total. Texas Tech, so very much in the college football playoff hunt, currently in it. But this is a big number. Tough road trip as well. Lubbock, all the way near the East Coast here to Morgantown, West Virginia. What are you thinking, Texas Tech, West Virginia?
Very cold for this game, so that's going to be a factor. Texas Tech is in a win and in scenario. If they lose, they can also get in with a loss by Arizona State. So they're pretty much in the conference championship game. They're coming off a bye, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game too, which I think in some situations helps teams that they have that extra week. And I think in some cases it's like, well, you're just delaying the inevitable. West Virginia is coming off a bye week last week, and normally I'd say I don't think we're going to get much from them, but I feel like Rich Rod's going to give us one last hurrah. This is not based off any handicapping whatsoever. This is based off a hunch. I kind of think West Virginia makes it interesting here. It's as you said, large number here. Texas Tech's going to win this game. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like Rich Rod's going to have spent that extra week off, like adding wrinkles, adding things, getting his kids motivated here. I expect a decent effort from West Virginia. My lean based off of no handicapping whatsoever, and it wouldn't be a large play if I was to play this. I like West Virginia plus the points in this situation.
Mountaineers in Morgantown. Tough to disagree with that, catching more than 3 touchdowns. We got Georgia State and Old Dominion up next. Sunbelt battle here. Minus 27. That is the Monarchs as the home favorite. 58 and a hook being the total. This number speaks to the Georgia State Panthers. Miserable season. Can they stay within 4 touchdowns of ODU, Matt?
So this is where I don't want any part of the number. I just want a part of ODU. I mean, last week they ran for 376 yards in the win at Georgia Southern. Here's a fun stat. ODU has outgained their opponents by 300 or more yards 4 times this season. They are one of 4 teams to do that. ODU, Oregon, Ohio State, and Missouri are the 4 teams that have outgained their opponents by 300 plus yards 4 times this season. The Monarchs are hot, and their quarterback's really good, and it's senior day and all that fun stuff. Their team total's 41.5. I'd look at the over here. There's no motivation from Georgia State for this game. They're 1-10. Like, they're a bad team. ODU's playing for a 9-3 season with a motivated head coach. I like Old Dominion's team total over here.
Could see that happening, Matt. As we got next one up, ECU and FAU. This is East Carolina at Florida Atlantic. Early kick in Boca Raton, 12 noon Eastern. The Pirates minus 6.5 or minus 7 is the road favorite. 65 and a hook being the total. Anytime we're talking the FAU Owls, I look towards the over. Zach Kitley's offense, the number 1 tempo offense. They can score some points. ECU, they've hit overs as well recently, Matt. I like the over in this one. What are you liking in South Florida?
So I definitely watch the wind for this game. There's going to be a lot of wind potentially. Now, as I said, this is as of Wednesday. We don't know what it's going to be like as we get closer. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know what kind of motivation level we're getting from East Carolina. They had a chance to make the conference championship game. That disappeared. They looked terrible at UTSA last week. They're a different team away from home. Florida Atlantic plays no defense. I mean, they lost 48-45 to UConn. I mean, probably bet on an Easton Messer touchdown. Like, I feel like every game he's getting at least one. He's in my college fantasy football team. He's doing tremendous this season. But yeah, you're right. Probably the over in this game because I think we're going to get 2 teams that just go out there and wing it. And you're getting 2 teams who play quickly. So I think that helps any sort of over here. The interesting thing is coming down a little bit. Like, when I did my notes, it was 67. You're giving me a number that's lower. So I don't know why anybody would take the under in this game. Last year it was a 49-14 game. So I agree with you. I like the over. Little concerned, though, on the money towards the under.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. It might have to do with the wind. I've also noticed sometimes, particularly with these totals, Matt, sometimes these moves have not been correct. And I'll just leave you with this. I mean, we get East Carolina. They let up 58 points to UTSA last week. They've hit the over in 5 straight. And FAU, their game against UConn last week, scored 93 points total. So a couple more reasons to look towards the over in Boca. We got next one up, another rivalry game here in the state of Tennessee. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. It's the Volunteers, mostly -3 is the home favorite. 65 and a hook being the total. So the Commodores looking to upset Tennessee here. Are you liking anything in Knoxville?
I mean, I can't bet against Pavia. I really can't. Like, here's the thing. And it's a shame that they're not going to make the SEC championship game at all, because I would almost love to have a long shot ticket on him to win the Heisman. I mean, he's capable of having a huge game here and throwing himself at least in the mix to get to New York. And then I don't know what'll happen, but like, it's hard for me to bet against Pavia right now. He's really good. They lost last year at home to Tennessee. This is a pretty good Vols team. We talked about it. They beat Florida at Florida, but like, I can't bet against Diego on the road in this situation. I don't think it'll make my card, but if you made me say like, what's going to be my play here, it would be Vandy +3.
I'm with you. I'm kind of surprised by it. I thought most people would like Tennessee, and I think you get the better head coach and the better quarterback with Vanderbilt plus the points. So I would look towards the Commodores as well, Matt. Great breakdown. As we got Georgia Southern and Marshall up next, the Thundering Herd -8 and a hook is the home favorite, 63 being the total. Georgia Southern at Marshall.
So this is win and you're in bowl game. Both are 5-6. Both are 3-4 in conference. So like, you're going to get motivation here, I assume. I've never been a Georgia Southern guy. I watched that game last week against ODU. They were brutal. JC French was terrible. The offense looked bad. They couldn't move the ball. And that was against a mediocre ODU team. Marshall has been all over the place. Like, Marshall looked really good, I thought, in the JMU loss, but then last week they lost at App State. I don't love their quarterback, Carlos Del Rio Wilson. Like, he's a good runner. He's a decent passer. But like, their offense has been all over the place. So like, this is a really tough game for me. I feel like we're going to see some points in this situation. The number's really high for the total. I feel like Marshall's going to win, but I can't lay that number right now. Their offense is so inconsistent this season. So I lean to Marshall in this situation, but you're going to get good motivation from both teams if they both want to play in a bowl game. So usually I would lean to the home team in that situation.
We got one game left for this segment. We'll get a best bet out of Matt Josephs at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. Great follow there. Mainstay on the Every Game on the Board podcast. You can check out his radio show, ESPN Richmond, as well, as he follows a lot of the teams in that area very closely. And our last game for the segment includes one of them, JMU, James Madison at Coastal Carolina, 3:45 Eastern time. It is JMU -21 and a hook as the road favorite, 53.5 being the total as the Chanticleers host JMU here, Matt. A lot on the line. What are you thinking?
I mean, look, I applaud you for ending on this game because you know who you're talking to. But like, I mean, look, we tried last week for style points against Wazoo. We lost our best bet. That was disappointing. JMU probably should have scored the touchdown at the end. They had the ball in Wazoo territory, but they took knees, which is fine, but we lost our best bet. I mean, that game Saturday is once again style points. Like, it's got to be frustrating if you're JMU to watch week after week on the college football playoff show, seeing Tulane in there and then seeing how JMU's doing. Now, I get the resume stuff. I get all that stuff, and I understand it completely. But like, this is where, and if you look at the history between these two teams, JMU has destroyed Coastal Carolina the last couple of years. I was at the game last year because it was a Thursday night game. They beat them 39-7. Noah Kim couldn't do anything. That's right. Noah Kim from Eastern Michigan. He was Coastal's quarterback last year. Like, this is a team that JMU knows really well. And without Samari Collier, I don't know how Coastal scores in this game. Tad Hudson is a brutal quarterback. So like, I think JMU wins this game. Their team total's 37.5. I mean, I'd say once again, go back to the well on that and take the over there. JMU has to put up points, has to look good going into the Sun Belt Championship game next Friday. So I like them to go style points here and take their team total over. I just feel like what they couldn't do last week, they're going to be able to do this week against a brutal Coastal Carolina team.
Yeah, it's a step down in class, which I think you're kind of talking about. Washington State's a pretty good squad. Coastal Carolina, I don't think the Chanticleers are all that great this season. But Matt, before we get to best bet, man, Thanksgiving weekend, what are your plans? Watching some football, sweating out some bets?
Watching all that stuff, football, basketball, NFL, college, all that stuff. This is a great weekend to just kind of sit at home. Like Black Friday, like I don't need to go shopping. I could shop on Amazon or like go sit in my couch and do that sort of thing. I don't need to do that sort of thing. So I'll be shopping from home and watching all sorts of sports, and I'm looking forward to it. I just feel like this is a great weekend for all sports. It's been a good week already. Like, I can do my show here and watch college basketball at the same time. So why not?
Yeah, why not, for sure. And for those joining us on YouTube and Twitter, I'm seeing the Eagles hat, and what you got what jersey is that? You're
This is my Ted Lasso shirt.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
nice.
It's a Ted Lasso shirt. This is the only kit you'll ever see me in, unless the Philadelphia Union want to give me one. That's about the only other kit I would wear, right? That's the right word, kit, right?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I've heard soccer fans refer to the shirts as that, so I think that's what it is. But if I'm wrong, I apologize.
Matt, best bet time. What do you got for the listeners?
Yeah, we're going to bounce back. I'm going to take over 41.5 points for North Texas. I mean, the Mean Green have done it right. They've gone and scored touchdowns on everybody, and they don't let up at the end, and they know that they are going to have to keep scoring to get themselves in the mix. And their head coach is leaving, but he's already said he's going to stay for the last couple of games. I like Temple. Obviously, I'm a Temple fan. I hope they win this game. That would be great because I want them in a bowl game, but I just don't think their defense matches up. I think North Texas runs away with this game. And look, I think 41.5 is a very good number. It's a nice, neat number. You could also take the over 5.5 touchdowns. That's what some of the books offer. But I'm going back to the well on North Texas's team total here. I think it's a profitable bet. And then I'll give you another one. As I said, way back in the first one, if you want to win some money for Thanksgiving, let's just make sure the weather is perfect by the time we get there. Give me over 121.5 passing yards for Blake Horvath. I just think that quarterback is going to throw a lot more. And remember, with that offense, all he needs is one or two broken plays to get to that number. Yeah, I see 121.5 on BetMGM. So I think that's where I like that. I think Blake Horvath throws a lot against Memphis in this game. So give me that as well.
Little 2-for-1 action, like it with a prop there. So Matt Josephs, ESPN Richmond at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. Anything else before we shut this down, Matt?
No, looking forward to it. Obviously, as we said, this is a very easy card to throw games out. If there's no motivation, if there's no angles, it's very easy to throw some stuff out and just kind of focus in on who's really motivated for this Friday or Saturday. And once again, Curt Cignetti, release the Heisman Doza on Friday night against Purdue. Beat up your rival, help your quarterback. Let me win a 60-1 ticket, please.
He's Matt Josephs, guys. We'll take a short break and finish off the card here. Every game on the board, rivalry weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets. We'll be right back.